Yeah, welcome to Red River Podcast, episode 124. Today, we don't really get a chance to talk like horror, a lot, like specifically about certain things. We did the Texas Chainsaw Massacre episode on the new movie. Maybe Halloween Kills was like the last thing.
Those are the last two. Yeah, we try to we cover so many different things. It's nice when we get a horror centric topic.
Yes, for sure. And today, I have Steve. Steve, I mean, you still go under Uncle Creepy, right? That's how I know you.
Yeah, man. It's the name that just keeps on giving.
Okay.
I wanted to know the origin story to that.
Well, I was gonna say Ian McCall didn't take that from you.
Oh, dude, it's really fucking funny. Well, I wish I had an exciting origin story for you, but actually, I grew up in the 70s, and one of my favorite magazines in the 70s was a magazine called Creepy. And Uncle Creepy was like its crypt keeper.
Okay.
So I was a huge fan. It was a thing I used to read in my very, very formative years. And when it came time that I started writing, I chose the name Uncle Creepy as sort of an homage. And had I have known the connotations that would have come along with it a few years later, I might have been a little bit more selective.
Yes.
But you know what? It's brought me a lot of joy. It's funny you mentioned Ian. Ian's wife, whom I don't know, I do not know Ian McCall.
He's a UFC fighter for everyone.
I know who he is now, but his wife used to tweet me thinking I was her husband, and I'm like, lady, I'm not your husband.
That's funny.
I don't know what to tell you. And then she's like, well, you should give the name up. And I'm like, well, fuck you.
Yeah, fuck you. Yeah.
So now, I mean, at this point, I own the name. I had it trademarked. I had it everything, which was nice when Dark Horse wanted to reprint the comic. Hi, how you doing? But, it was, I was just like, only I could pick a name out of nowhere from an obscure comic book and get into a fucking online beef with an MMA fighter.
Yes.
It's like, what are the odds? It's like, this is the story of my fucking life, man.
In your defense, he's about $125. I think I think you got him. I think you got him.
I'm really not concerned.
I think you got him. I actually between the three of us, I think we could take him.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I got it covered, man. I could twirl him like a baton. It's fine.
I like before I was going to mention like Scandato and all that other stuff, but I love that you mentioned the magazine, the comic, right? Because it's an anthology, and we love anthologies. Yeah, and right now you just produced something with Spider One, which is Rob Zombie's brother, and it's an anthology.
Yeah, it's actually my fourth anthology.
Okay.
It's funny. When I was doing Dread Central, and Dread Central got really at the height of its popularity, I was getting sent all of these short films, and these short films, some of them were fantastic. And the problem with a short film is it kind of lives and dies online. It does its festival run, and then the filmmaker puts it up, and people have to like stumble across it, usually by happenstance, to see this cool ass little movie. So what we had done years ago was we collected a bunch of short films. We wrote a really loose wraparound story and released it as something called Zombie World, which was a pretty well-received thing. And then we did a sequel to it, which was Monsterland, which was a lot of fun. And then everyone started doing that. So I'm like, all right, I think I'm kind of done with this whole collecting short films thing. And then I'm working currently on a new one that was spawned by that app Clubhouse. A bunch of filmmakers got together, and a guy named Sebastian Bazile, he's a wonderful producer. He he's making some dreams come true for some people. So he, myself, Alex Neuer, who did Sound of Violence, Josh Stolberg, who wrote a lot of the Saw films.
Yeah.
Jed Shepard, who did Host. Dave McInerney, who's one of the premier writing agents in LA. Myself, we're working on this thing called, I don't know if we announced the title yet, but it's going to be a pretty cool anthology that, it came together in the most magical of ways. Because when I created Dread Central, the reason why Dread Central had an identity, I don't know what its identity is now, whether it's better or not without me, that's for the fans to decide. But when I was the one on the watch, my main priority was to make sure the indie filmmaker got as much spotlight as the studio filmmaker. And to, be away from Dread Central, I ain't gonna lie, I missed that. And when this opportunity came by to work with Seb and Jed and Alex and Dave and Josh, I jumped at it. I'm like, all right, well, this is just a logical extension of helping young filmmakers, and I'm all about that. And, while that was happening, I've been friends with Spider for a long time. Really, really talented musician, Power Man 5000. Yep. And he's like, hey, I got this thing. Will you take a look at it? And I'm like, sure, man. I'll watch fucking anything. I don't care. Give me some shit. I'll watch it.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, wow, this is really good. And then we started talking about what he wanted to do with it and then what it was going to be. And then he ended up turning it into a feature-length film. So I was like, dude, if you're going to go 45 minutes, you might as well go 80, and do a feature. And that was the thing. And it took a little while to get the right people behind it, but RLJ Entertainment picked it up, and it's premiering on Shudder on August 2nd, which is exciting. And I'm really happy for Spider, and especially Chrissy Fox, his production partner, who stars and edits and scores. I mean, you want to talk about a talent to keep your eye on, man. Chrissy Fox, holy shit. This lady can do it all, and it's amazing to see. And Spider, I think people are going to be really, really surprised when they see what a tremendous eye for the camera he has, and his storytelling abilities and his writing is just really, really cerebral and top notch. I liken it to kind of, I would say, Night Gallery, like around that Rod Serling kind of vibe. I mean, basically Allegoria is about tortured artists, and every artist, whether you're a podcaster or you're a fucking writer or you're a filmmaker, we all have our demons, man.
Holy shit.
Allegoria explores what happens when those demons go a little bit too far. And it was just a really good idea. I hadn't seen anything like it in years. I think people are going to be, listen, the first thing everyone's going to do is, let's compare it to Rob Zombie's movies. And it couldn't be more different. And I think that's one of its strongest points because, there's only one Rob Zombie. He makes his movies. When you see a Rob Zombie movie, you're watching a Rob Zombie movie. There's no question you're watching a Rob Zombie movie. And Spider has his own flavor. And he's worked with so many, Scout Taylor Compton's in it. The cast is great. The acting is great. It just won an award for best special effects.
I just love that, as like a musician. And I think like me and like Brian was a musician, but like we were all like, like you said, tortured artists. Like it's so relatable, basically. Like, like I can't, like I read the plot and I was just thinking like, man, what a really cool idea. So like, and the fact that like Shudder exists, in the grand scheme of like horror, like I hate when people ask me, they're like, is it worth the $5 or whatever the fuck they charge? I was like, yo, are you fucking kidding me?
$5.
Yeah.
I spend $5 walking down the street. I don't even know where it goes.
Yes.
The price of 2 cups of coffee.
Not even one. I don't know where you're living. It's one.
Gas station, son. Gas station.
Yeah, you go to coffee houses that actually serve coffee, I guess. Because the ones I go to, $25 for something I can't even pronounce. So I don't know.
It's so worth it. It's just like, for people like us, because we're all kind of like the same age. Yeah. We're all basically like, like I'm in my mid 40s and you guys are like a little bit ahead of me. But
who the fuck said that was okay? First of all,
what?
It's a meeting. this whole getting older thing.
Yeah.
I don't get it, man.
I didn't get the memo.
Yeah, listen.
We're just Gen X. We got the memo, but didn't give a fuck. Like,
that's I'm fucking finishing up this this podcast to then go play a show in Queens. So it's like I'm still kind of doing everything I've been doing since I was 20. But
yeah, me too.
Yes. And it's just like, so growing up, like, I mean, the video store was so awesome, and now like you have Shudder, and it's like there's so many cool things on Shudder. Like I just recently watched, I know you just recently watched Firestarters, so we could talk about that, but I just recently watched The Sadness, and it's like, man, I waited for that movie to come out forever. I don't know if you guys got a chance to watch that.
Tonight I'm gonna watch it, actually.
There's a quote on the cover, like the best zombie movie ever, and that's a big boast, so I'm curious, but that boast alone kind of turns me off a little bit.
It turns
I kind of take Romero stuff whenever I hear that. I put it on this like upper shelf that's like not talk, nothing's touching this. And now after Romero, like, yes, AR after Romero, then I'll judge like what's the best of all time. Like The Dead, that film I love.
The Dead was good.
There's certain ones that are fantastic, but Romero is just. And I know you're a huge Romero fan, obviously.
I was in his last zombie movie, man. I was a feature movie. So I got to chow down. That was amazing.
That's amazing too, because I know it was like you and Mike Felsher, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the best part about it is now I dropped all that weight, so I could say all that fat was special effects.
Yeah. I'm trying to catch up to you. I'm trying to catch up, trying to drop.
Not easy, man. It's a daily struggle. Trust me.
It is. It's just like, I like food, and the older I get, like, it's like, you know what it is? It's the only vice I have left. I've had the same girlfriend for 10 years. My life is just pretty much like, like pretty regimented. And the only thing, like, I don't drink, I don't do drugs. Like, I'm just like, I like food then. I guess that's all I have left.
It's funny because when I was growing up, my dad was a raging alcoholic prick. He used to kick my ass every fucking day of his life. He was an abusive bastard. And people always assume that I drink or I smoke pot or I do, but I don't do anything. I'm as straight edge gets. But I also don't mind being around it. It doesn't bother me. I don't feel tempted by it.
Me neither. Yeah.
But what I didn't realize is my addiction became food.
Yep.
And it is an addiction. And the problem with it is, you need to eat. You can't, you don't need to smoke pot. Well, sometimes you do, but you don't need a shot. Sometimes you do, but you need to eat, So, I did everything I could to avoid finding out how much of that addictive gene of my dad's that I had, and I didn't realize that I was building a new addiction, and thankfully I decided to lose 160 pounds at 45 years old. And it was really easy, totally easy at 45. Let me tell you.
Really though, like, like $165 is like a person.
Another person.
Yeah. It's so just out of curiosity, like, how the fuck did you do that?
All right, here you go. Here's the turnkey secret. I tried every fucking diet you can imagine.
Okay.
None of that shit worked, dude. None of it. You eat keto, meat, whatever the fuck. Listen, I'm Italian. You tell me I can't eat pizza, I'm out.
Yeah.
Okay? I'm just out. I've lost interest in whatever the fuck you have to say. So, I was 47 pounds. And I was getting tired going from the couch to the bathroom. Like, if we didn't park close to wherever we had to go, I was pissed off that I had to walk. It was scary fat, dude. Scary, obese, fucking fat. And I just realized I was killing myself. And there's a lot more stuff I want to do. Yeah. So what I did is without a trainer, without a doctor, without anybody telling me what to do, without doing any research, I got myself a Fitbit, which I still wear. and I downloaded this app called MyFitnessPal, and
Yeah.
MyFitnessPal let me. I said how much weight I wanted to lose, and it gave me an allotment of calories of what I would have, how many calories I could have per day, and how long it would take me to lose that. But it didn't really say what kind of calories I could eat, right? It didn't say what those calories had to be. So I said, well, fuck it. I'm going to eat Chinese food and pizza, right? And literally, I fucking ate Panda Express every day for lunch for about 2.5 years. I was allotted 2,200 calories per day. I stayed at around 1,500.
Wow.
And I just started walking, and I walked 10 miles a day. And, it's between eating so little, and walking so much. By the time I was done walking, I had burned off whatever I ate. And I literally pretty much ate whatever the fuck I wanted for dinner. And the weight just came off. It was just.
You got a book right there.
Yeah.
If you tell people, but you can lose $1.65 eating Panda Express, you could. You're going to make $1 million.
Let me explain one thing to you, okay? I'm the guy who chose a screen name and got into a fight with an MMA character.
Yeah.
I write a diet book. Somebody's going to croak. I'm getting sued. So
True.
I don't recommend anybody do what I did. My recommendation is find what works for you.
Right.
Do it,
Sure.
And
sure.
that was just something that worked for me. And it was bad, dude. It was like a total detox, when the first couple of weeks I was miserable. And I gained back a few pounds, and now I'm dieting hardcore again. And again, the past week, it's fucking miserable.
Because you're right. It does, like, after like 2 weeks, like, you start to feel like better. And I forget that, because it's like, it's like you start over, and then it's like sometimes it's so discouraging, because it's, like the saying is like throwing a chair off the Titanic.
The coolest shit in the world was, though, like, as I started dropping weight, I started noticing I had extra parts I'd never seen before. Like this fucking thing here, this thing by your ear, whatever the fuck that is, this thing.
Yeah.
I've never seen that shit before. Wow, look at that. And then my dick. Let me tell you about my dick.
Yeah. I know. Yeah.
It was like, hello, old friend. And how are you?
I know. It's like, all right, spring again. Let's go. Let's go do it. But yeah. So I
didn't think the conversation you were gonna go here, did you?
Well,
conversation with me goes.
We cover all bases.
Yeah, I tell you, we're a mixed bag. We just finished. We just wrapped up our Weezer episode, so we're good to go wherever we want.
I saw a lot of controversy between those two albums.
Are you a fan of those two albums?
I'm not a huge Weezer fan, to be honest with you.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, you could do that with any two records. Like, what two records would you match up? Like let's say, like
from the same band.
Yeah.
10 and Verses.
Oh,
that's great.
So I have that in my notes, because I was going to ask you, because I went through your playlist. I went through your playlist, so I'm going to ask you real quick. Nevermind or In Utero?
Oh man, wow! I gotta go In Utero.
Okay, good.
Me too. Go In Utero, because it's a harder edge. It's a little more avant-garde. I really like In Utero, but I also really like that song. You're Right, that came out after Kurt died. I love that song.
That is a good song. Yeah.
It's what it is. It's production. Like, the production on Nevermind is so clean, but In Utero, I feel like, was the band that they wanted to be when Bleach came out. So Verses or 10?
Oh fuck! I gotta go 10.
I'm going Verses.
I agree.
Even though I got Pearl Jam lyrics tattooed on my fucking arm from Verses.
Okay, yeah, Verses.
Rearview mirror. I gather speed for you fucking with me.
Versus is just like, and I just did a revisit of the first three albums. And I was 13 when 10 came out, so that was like 91, and it's just, man, big deal. But I feel like, man, when Versus came out, it just kind of blew me away. Like Daughter and like all those songs were just so goddamn good. And what'd you think of the of 20, of the documentary?
I liked it. It's funny. I'm a huge Pearl Jam fan. I love every album they've made, because every album they've made has been consistently different, and they tried different things musically. And I always that about them. But it's like I loved Pearl Jam 20, but it kind of ignored like 3 records. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, remember when like fucking this record? I forget which ones they were, but I was like, wow, they just kind of glossed over like at least fucking 5 years, you know. But I guess I like PJ 20 because it has a lot of really crazy footage in it, like Eddie and Chris like wrestling and him dancing with Kirk. You know, there's a lot of really interesting things you see in there that you wouldn't have seen otherwise.
I loved it too. And the last one I'm going to ask you, because I know like A Perfect Circle, love them, right? And I love the quote that you posted somewhere because I completely agree. You're such an inspiration for the ways that I will never choose to ever. Yeah, so good.
You know what's funny? I had that in my signature, like back in the day and on message boards, and people always thought I was insulting them. They didn't realize it was my signature. I'm like, are you fucking that dense?
Yeah. I wasn't sure because also like I've listened to like some old interviews and I wasn't sure if it was almost like a father reference or stuff too, you know, that like connected with you as well.
Yeah, I anything pretty much. A lot of songs remind me of my dad. Filters, Take a Picture reminds me of my dad. Of course, anything, you know, Why Go Home, even though it's about a girl, I always relate it to, you know.
Yeah.
It was just, you know, listen, my story's not unique, man. We've all grown up in our own personal dysfunction family circuses, you know, and it's how you react to those negative things and how you choose to face them and portray yourself. I'm thankful for them. I'm glad I got my ass kicked, you know. I wouldn't change a damn thing about my life because it made me who I am and I like me, you know. I've never been one to say that people who have been abused, I get it. It's a mental fucking form of torture. But I use that to fuel me, you know. I use that to, okay, I'm a fuck up, right? That's what you said. You're telling me I can't do this. You're telling me I'm a waste of shit, whatever the fuck you want to say. Now I'm gonna do it, you know? And I just always internalized all of the abuse in a way to push me in a more positive direction.
And so like you went from Brooklyn to Los Angeles, right? So it's just
no, actually I went from Brooklyn to Florida first.
Oh.
And that truly was the land of the dead. And
all New Yorkers have to go there first.
Yeah, and
Florida,
they got to check in there.
Yeah,
great place to retire. Totally, I hear you. In 10 years, it's going to be underwater, so I guess I ain't retiring there.
Yeah,
but you know, it was cool. It gave me a chance to gain some perspective, and that's actually when I really started pursuing my career in the film industry is when I got to Florida, because before that, I was managing Pete Ross's band, 5 Cent Hero.
Oh, okay, yeah.
You know, and so I did the music industry thing and that, Jesus Christ, you think the movie industry's cutthroat, the music industry's 10,000 times worse. But it also really prepped me for dealing with people in the movie business. I already understood how to, even though I have no college education, I got a GED.
Same.
I'm talking to people.
Yeah.
I'm a verbal chameleon. I can fit into any situation because I think and I listen. I'm smart and I try to absorb from everyone I speak to. And the best way to get smart is to just shut your fucking mouth and listen. And then when you do say something, it has an impact, you know? And once I got time to get away from the hazards of New York really took a toll on me. One of the main reasons why I left New York was because of 9/11. I was there. My best friend died in one of the buildings, and that was just way too much for me to handle. And at that time, between the family life that I had and then losing your best friend, I drastically needed a change of scenery. And I went to Florida for a few years. And being that I was finally able to concentrate in one direction, that's when I was able to really start working on Dread Central. And that's when writing became more than just a hobby, you know? And then I ended up in California for 20 years, you know? And then the pandemic hit, and I realized that, hey, everybody's working from home and I could do the same shit I'm doing here, but I could go back home and have pizza while I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Ah.
Did you miss it? Like, when did you start to like really miss New York then? Like, because if you
I
were
never-
there for that long.
I never missed it. You don't, I miss the pizza. You know, I miss the bagels. I ain't gonna lie. I miss the Chinese food. But New York, I'm not in New York right now either. I'm kind of like right outside of Philadelphia. And I have access to New York, which is nice.
Yeah, of course.
You know, and I have access to Philadelphia. So I'm in a nice little sweet spot for wherever I need to be. And when I got back, it was a huge adjustment. I mean, as big of an adjustment it was from going from New York to Florida, it was as big as an adjustment coming from California back east, you know? And it was really difficult at first, but within like a couple of weeks, I started realizing what I love the most about the East Coast. And it wasn't just the pizza. It's the fact that California, I mean, I have a lot of good friends out there, and I have a lot of acquaintances out there, and I have a lot of business partners out there, but a lot of California is populated with people who are only about themselves, who will smile in your face and stab you right in the back and do anything they can to jump over you. And how you react to that is, again, how it's going to dictate your standing in life and your position. And coming back here where people are a lot more straightforward and no bullshit, it felt really good. You know, just, wow, I know this person's an asshole, and that's fine. He's an asshole. He already said, he proved to me he's an asshole. So now I know exactly how much attention I have to pay to him. Where in California, you got to like dissect like layers of bullshit before you could find out what a person's really like. So coming back here, I realized what I did miss most was the people. And with everything that I learned out there, I'll be very honest with you, anyone who's in the entertainment industry, you need to be out in California. You need to put the time in there and do the work and meet the people and play the games, you know. But once you're established and once you have your footing, then you can go do your shit anywhere. But you need that experience out there. You need that FaceTime with people. You need those areas of communication.
I was going to say, I mean, just you went from there. You know, I've never been there, but we do have a mutual friend that still lives out there. And
Good Mexican food.
Oh, okay, yeah. Listen, I'm a fan, but we have a mutual friend, and he was sending me some Dread stuff, some movies around the time.
Rob DeLuca.
Yeah, Rob G. That's the homie right there, and he sent me a movie that I absolutely fucking love to this day, and I wanted to talk to you about it. Harpoon.
Oh,
Harpoon is so good.
Awesome.
Fun little flick.
Yeah,
it's a fun little flick. I mean, full disclosure, my tenure with Dread Central didn't come to the best end.
Okay.
And Terrifier was kind of like my swan song from the company.
What a swan song.
Hey, if I had to go out, that's the way I'm going out, you know, making a statement. And everything they released after that, I had zero to do with. You know, the only two projects I brought to the Dread label were the Kane Hodder documentary.
Yes.
And Terrifier. And Terrifier, including Rob G. Rob G did not like Terrifier.
I know.
And Rob made my job real fucking hard with Terrifier. And I love Rob though. I would never say, Rob, you know what? He's a great guy. He's been through the ringer.
Yep.
We all have. And He's still punching, so God bless him. But yeah, I'll call him on his bullshit. He did not make my life easy with Terrifier. Nobody did. It got to the point with that movie where I literally had to say to the powers that be, if this movie doesn't perform like I know it will, I will quit. And you could have my portion of the company. That's how confident. And that was after 18 years of my life working on Dread Central. I believed in Terrifier that much.
You were right. I mean, it's I remember seeing it, and it just, God, it reignited all that 80s slasher love that I grew up on. And it looks so gritty. It had this great character. Everyone I know loved it. And even I would say part 2, which we'll ask you about, it's the most anticipated horror movie I can remember in recent history with my friend. I mean, like, everybody is starving for this.
You know, I can't even begin to tell you how much that means to me personally. In regards to the original Terrifier, like I said, it was a tooth and nail fight for anyone to pay attention to that me within the company, you know? And I'm the dude spearheading the company, supposedly, right? And it was a really interesting thing. And I'm writing a book. I'll get into detail in the book. But I just knew it was the right movie at the right time with the right character. And there was a lot against it. I mean, when Terrifier first came out, Stephen King's It was huge, right? So now you have another killer clown movie. And I'm like, no, this is different. This is so fucking different. And what Damien Leone created was the best 80s style slasher movie without trying to make an 80s style slasher movie. He understood what the formula was, but he didn't mimic it. He just knew his move. You know,
we had him on like when it came out, because like, so I remember like scrolling by All Hallows Eve and seeing this clown,
that fucking face,
fucking face, and I'm just like, and I would always scroll by it. I didn't really think it. I was like, oh, this is probably like Ginger Dead Man or whatever the fuck it is, and I kept scrolling by it, and then I remember seeing the trailer for Terrifier, and I was like, man, I'm like, that guy looks fucking familiar. I know it's not the same actor, it's the same character, but at that point, when I saw the trailer, I was like, damn, I was like, this movie looks kind of crazy. And I'll never forget renting it. I had a fever. It was probably the last time I had a fever. And I just sat in my bedroom. My girlfriend was in the other room, and I watched it.
Right.
And smart. I was, but I was like, I'm watching this movie, and I'm like, I keep telling her, I was like, yo, I'm like, this fucking movie is really, really good, because the main character is so off-putting. He's so creepy.
The scene in that pizzeria with is like unforgettable when you really see him in the light.
Him, though, right? I mean, when we were taking submissions to put out the first Dread Central movie, I watched like hundreds of movies, and none of them connected with me. And, you know, Dread Central at that time was my baby. This is my child. You know, if I'm going to put something that's an offspring of my child out there, that shit has to come correct, because I care.
Yeah, you know? Yeah.
And I saw Terrifier, and then I shut it off, and I sat there for about 10 minutes, and then I put it back on, and then I watched it again, and I shut it off. And about 10 minutes later, I put it on again, and I sat through it a third time, and I said, this is it. This is the one. And, you know, at that point, the foreign rights had been sold, and they wanted complete rights to the film. So that was an uphill challenge. And then because of the content of the movie, that was an uphill challenge. There were so many uphill challenges, but it was worth fighting every single battle. And when it finally dropped, it became one of their absolute best-selling titles in their entire, in the Epic Pictures catalog, you know? And to me, I was like, I helped do that.
Yeah.
Now I'm out later, you know?
Right.
And I walked away from Dread Central, which is one of the hardest things I've ever done, for a myriad of reasons, which I declined to get into.
Yeah.
And it was scary, man, because like I, what the fuck do I do now? I've been doing this for 18 years. It's the only thing I know how to do that I'm good at. And little by little, man, it just started happening. Like I was going to shows and all of a sudden I started seeing merch. I'm like, where is all this shit coming from? And it wasn't anyone making the shit. It was the fans that were making their own Terrifier stuff. And as soon as I started seeing that, and then I started seeing the murals, and then I started seeing the fucking tattoos, and I started seeing everyone, I started hearing everybody buzzing about this.
Kerry King, fucking Kerry King's birthday. I'm like, yo, are you fucking kidding me right now? Like, this is like, I knew right then and there. I was like, this is a big deal, and everyone like so it was.
You know what else is special about it too? Because all the horror icon characters that we grew up with, the Jasons, the Freddys, whatever, they're still being kicked around, whatever. But later on, introducing like an epic character like that everyone knows the face, that you see it carved in pumpkins on Halloween, and you know what I mean.
It was the ultimate feeling of vindication, right? Yeah. I mean, the most amazing. It's like, holy shit, I got it right. And that meant more to me than anything. And if it took me 18 years of Dread Central to be able to put out or help or have a hand in putting out a film with a character that the fans universally, fucking globally have embraced, then that was time well spent. And that's what I did that for. You know, I have no regrets. And
we did a screening of it too.
Did you?
Yeah, when it came out, like we loved it. Like I just couldn't, like I watched it like 3 times, and like it was still so small that like Damian Leone was like, sure, I'll do your stupid podcast. Like he was like
early on.
Yeah, it was like, oh, somebody gives a shit about this movie, and we're like, yo, it's like, because it was so mean spirited, but in the most purest. Like when you watch a movie like that, you think to yourself, that's a horror movie. There's so many other things, so many other like subgenres and things that come out, and it's like, oh, horror comedy. Like Terrifier is a fucking legit slasher movie. No apologies.
It's funny. It's so unabashedly what it is, and we don't have any preconceived or misconceptions about it, man. It's not the most compelling of stories, right? I mean, it's very thin on story, but it's fucking memorable.
Yeah.
And it hits, and that character David is fucking David Howard Thornton, who plays Art the Clown.
Yep.
You know what the funniest thing? He is the nicest guy on the
planet. Nice.
He's
so
like
nice.
Ridiculous. And he can flip that switch and be completely evil within like 3 seconds.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have to say a word. He does it with his face, and his background as a mime is what helped him be able to convey all of this emotion without saying a word. And I think what Terrifier, listen, no one knew it was going to be a cult hit. And everybody's always, I see the term, and I've seen the term horror icon, the newest this, the newest that, thrown around by studios, by this, by that. It never works like that, man. It's not a studio. You can't declare something to the next thing. It's the fans that
fans.
Yep. It's got to happen organic, or it doesn't stick. Yeah.
The studio, the filmmakers, we have nothing to do with that shit other than making the movie. It has to be embraced. And luckily, knock wood, people have really embraced it. And embraced it on a level. I mean, I see little kids dressed up as Art the Clown, and then there was the whole misogyny thing that people say about it, because we have that one memorable kill, but it's in there because it's a memorable kill.
Oh,
yeah.
Also,
like the guy, like, whenever someone brings that up, I'm thinking like, I feel like didn't he like decapitate the fuck out of like dudes? Like the whole, I'm like, I don't know why you're pinpointing on that one. Obviously, because it was very impressive.
Vagina.
Yeah.
Well, it was very. Catherine was all about doing that scene. She hung there upside down for a long time, and I see hundreds of women now dressed up like Art the Clown who don't think it's misogynistic, who just thinks it's a good kill. But that's not to say we didn't have to prove a little something with the sequel when it came to how bad the guys get it. So just temper your expectations. There could be a little bit of a leg squeezing on the male part going on in Terrifier 2 in a few moments.
You know?
Can you announce anything about when we might be seeing that, or is it too?
Damien has put it the best. Damien said, expect around Halloween, but if it comes out sooner, be happy. You know? And, you know, it's still in post. It's in the final stages of post, so it's almost ready, you know, but even then it's distribution and this and that. So there's still a long way to go, but what's special about it to all of us, and this goes from Damien to Phil Falcone to David Howard Thornton. Let me just give a shout out to Phil, because if it wasn't for Phil Falcone, none of this shit would be happening, okay? So he's the real hero behind Terrifier, one of the producers. This man is a fucking saint and putting up with us fucking lunatics and people like us who are lunatics. And what's exciting to us is, listen, Blumhouse ain't picking up fucking Terrifier 2. Neither is Universal. Neither is Lionsgate.
Yeah.
No studio with any brains is going to touch this movie, okay? But the franchise belongs to the fans. It's the fans who made Terrifier popular. And it's the fans who we made Terrifier 2 for, you know? Knowing that we have something to really live up to. And with 2, we give you more Terrifier, you know?
Awesome.
And a lot of it. A whole lot of it.
Yeah, he said it was like 2 hours and 15 minutes or something like that.
Coming around there, dude. It's the Empire Strikes Back of fucking horror sequels.
Yeah, it's like Art Corleone.
I mean, another great thing I want to, because we don't want to keep you forever here, but you were involved with the Never Sleep Again, the Friday, the Nightmare on Elm Street documentary, which is fantastic. I mean, as someone who grew up with the genre, it was such a trip for me, and so well done. I would love to talk about what was involved in bringing that together. I mean, that must have been a massive undertaking.
Oh my Lord. Several countries, several states, hundreds and hundreds of hours worth of footage. When I did His Name Was Jason on
Love that
one.
I was interviewed, and if you have the two disc set, all my good shit's on disc 2.
I got it.
Because I wasn't pretty enough for the movie. Anyway, I wasn't cosmetically pleasing. So
look at you now.
I know, right? Now I'm just so hugging. So the original director of that was a guy named Dan Ferens, and he worked. He worked with my good friend Andrew Cash, who worked with me at Dread Central. And so many people I worked with at Dread Central are now working in the industry, and I can't tell you how proud of that I am. And these are people who are nothing but fans, you know? Now, Andrew Cash edited fucking and directed episodes of Legends of Tomorrow, and everyone's gone on to do such amazing stuff, which is like, what am I doing? Anyway, jealous a little. But Dan and I became fast friends, and Dan realized I knew my shit. And being that I had such a huge foothold in the genre with Dread Central, he asked me to come aboard and work with the team on Never Sleep Again. And of course, I love Nightmare on Elm Street. So I was all in. And that was probably the worst trial by fire project you could ever get into, just because of the absolute scope of it. And you know, we're sitting there with hundreds of hours of interviews, you know, and the interesting thing about a documentary is a documentary usually doesn't find its narrative until it starts getting edited, you know, and Never Sleep Again's narrative ended up being less Nightmare on Elm Street, although it is the focal point, and more or less the rise and fall of New Line Cinema. That is the heart and soul of that documentary, really. and credit to the editor on Never Sleep Again. Tommy Hudson, the editor, is the dude. He's also a writer. He's an amazing filmmaker in his own right. But Tommy Hudson found the narrative in Never Sleep Again. And if he didn't find that narrative, I really have to doubt that it would have ever come out as good as it did. And it's won every conceivable award, just short of the majors that I could think of. And we're so blessed to have worked on that, but it also put us in a really precarious situation. And that situation was, now everybody wanted us to do a documentary for them. And that was just such an exhausting experience. And we set the bar as high as it could have possibly went, you know? And Andrew Cash, the co-director, ended up in the hospital. He was so exhausted by the time it was finally finished. And, you know, it came out at 4 fucking hours. And we're like, well, no one's ever going to watch this, you know? We figured, so we did it in segments. It was like, here's an hour about the first one. Here's an hour about the second one. We never thought anybody would watch it in one sitting, but people have. And I think that's the most amazing. Listen, you know, I've been involved in some crazy ass shit that I don't know how I got involved in. Never Sleep Again, Terrifier, Dread Central, all these cornerstone things that have become so well respected and well embraced and well loved. And nobody knows how lucky I am more than me, you know, to have been able to attach my name or put my stamp on anything, you know. Listen, dude, it sounds ludicrous, but we're all put here to try to do something, you know, to let people know we were here. And luckily, between Survival of the Dead, you know, my mentorship from Sid Haig and fucking George Romero, all the documentary work, all the film work, people are going to know I'm here when I'm dead. And I dig that, because I'll come back and fucking haunt all of you.
But I think it's just like, you know, when you grow up the way we did, like, I know what a big deal Night of the Living Dead was for you, you know, like that whole story, like you waking up your parents and all that other shit was so funny. But it just, like, I think when you grow up with something that you give such a fuck about, you're so passionate about, you just, it's almost like you're I don't know, you involve yourself some way, because there's no other way. It's just the life that you live that brings you towards these things, you know. It's like if you don't play in a band, you'll create a zine, or, you know, you'll direct videos or stuff like that, you know. It's just like that thing where
you're in the right subgenre of film too, because, you know, as a horror fan, you know how once we latch on and love something, we're down for life. Like, there's no, you know what I mean, are certain characters. You don't find like romantic comedy conventions or like, you know what I mean? Like,
man, I mean, you hear a lot from a lot of different sources and places how their fans are the best, man. Let me tell you something. Horror fans, we breathe this shit. It's in our blood. It's who we are. This ain't like a little fad. This isn't some strange lifestyle choice we chose out of nowhere. It becomes who we are. And I think it's because horror fans are also some of the most empathetic people you could ever meet. You know, we're so misrepresented by people who think we're lunatics or crazy people, or it's just, we're doctors, we're lawyers, we're the most empathetic people in the world. And I think that has a lot to do with knowing that there's a lot of darkness in this world. And at least in horror movies, you have the option of sometimes seeing the good guy win. And if the good guy doesn't win, he's going to get fucked up memorably. And hey, that's great too, right?
That's great too. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, listen, all I know is that I went to the movie theaters to see Jason go to space. So, I mean, if that's not, you know, if that's not commitment to
Dude, I love that fucking movie. I don't care what anyone says.
I will go to bat for Jason Goes to Hell. That's what I will go to bat for. Like, I'm a Jason Goes to Hell apologist, just because it reminded
shaving.
It reminded me of The Hidden.
Homoerotic shaving.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. Forgot about that.
It was just so out of place. Like, why is Jason coming on to this guy and shaving him? It's so strange. It's like,
okay.
Why?
All right, I give you that. But
in the movie theater going, what the fuck is going on?
Before we wrap up, I asked you like two questions real quick, just because like you're so, you know,
The answer is not Firestarter.
not Firestarter, exactly. And I love the original. I don't know if you love the original, but like
I do. So, avoid the new one like a scorching case of herpes. Really
but
No problem.
so it was like so for right now, just give me 5 horror movies that you feel are super underrated.
Current or of all time?
Let's do all time. Like if you're going to recommend 5 movies that you feel like fell through the crack to anyone listening.
Dead Silence.
Okay.
James
Wan, yeah.
You know, he had all of this grandeur and all of the success with the Conjuring movies, and it's well deserved. He's an incredible filmmaker. I mean, we wouldn't have Saw if it wasn't for James. But Dead Silence was like his first foray into really supernatural filmmaking, and it just hits, man. It's like sitting in a fucking roller coaster going through a haunt, you know? And I love Dead Silence. It's just the creepiest fucking character in Mary Shaw. They had the backstory, the mythology. I don't think that movie gets nearly the respect that it deserves. Another movie that was really recent that just fucking blew me away is this werewolf movie called The Cursed.
Oh, okay.
It played in theaters a few months ago. And it was one of the few times I was sitting in a theater going, I don't deserve this.
Ha,
Movies like this don't play in the theater anymore.
that's awesome.
And it's like literally a fucking triple A fucking werewolf movie, man. Really, really good. It was like what Terrifier is to 80s slasher movies is what The Curse is to Hammer horror.
Okay.
You know, it's that vibe, the misty fucking. Just,
And this is the
I'm
shit that makes
sold.
you,
I
you know,
didn't know.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm sold. Like this is
I'm writing
is
it down. Actually,
I wanted to pick your brain. So all right, give me 3 more.
Another one, which is one of my favorites, that it was just I don't think enough people talk about it, is a movie called Slacks.
Yeah, the
Oh,
killer
yes.
jeans.
About the killer jeans.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Dude, I had so much fucking fun watching that movie. It is just, it's so absurd because it didn't work, yet it's perfect in its absurdity. It's such a good little movie.
I loved it.
Another one that I think I'm a huge sucker for shark movies. I love fucking shark movies. Ever since Jaws, you throw a shark in something, I'm guaranteed to sit there and watch it. And I loved 47 Meters Down, but
I love that one.
I thought the sequel, 47 Meters Down Uncaged, did you remember that one?
Yep.
Like all of a sudden they mixed The Descent with sharks, and there were these albino deformed fucking goblin looking sharks swimming around tearing these people up, and I'm like, this is fucking insanity. And I just recently rewatched that, and I just had such a blast with it. I'm like, this is way better than I remembered it being.
Yeah.
Probably one of those things that kind of, I don't know, it gets a little better as it goes on, you know, as it ages, it kind of finds its footing a little bit more.
I watched 47, the first one, like maybe like a few years ago, because I didn't really give a shit. And then when I saw it, I was like, okay, I'm wrong. This was good. And then I saw the sequel. I was like, you know what it is?
If
like,
you love shark flicks, you know what I mean? And I love shark flicks that I've waded through. I mean, I've seen so many bad ones. I'm always looking for that one. And like when they happen, it's like, yeah. Yeah, what's tonight?
Shark bait. I have no fucking idea what that is. I'm gonna watch it though, because it's a shark movie.
Yeah, man.
And my next pick is gonna be kind of sacrilege to a lot of people, but I do find merit in it, and I didn't for a very long time. I was very against this movie, and even when I saw it in theaters, I was like, oh, I fucking this bullshit, blah blah blah. I kind of got to give it to the prequel of The Thing.
I thought so. Yeah, I'm with you.
Really liked it. You know, I didn't like it when I seen it. And then as like, maybe it's because I've reconciled everything that's gone wrong with it. And so I could now appreciate it for what it was. But
that happens. Yeah.
Yeah. When I watched that movie the last time, it's really interesting. I mean, there is one gigantic ass elephant in the room. And that's that they got into the minutia of what happened at this Norwegian camp, right down to you see where the axe is in the wall, and you see the guy who cut his wrist and the blood froze, and blah, 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 blah. but they ignore the major plot point of the Norwegians blowing the ship out of the ice, which you saw in John Carpenter's masterful movie, which to me is as close to a perfect movie as it gets. But ignoring that, it's like the perfect little prequel to, I mean, the effects are overly done in CG at times, but there are some practical in there. There are interesting ideas, and I liked seeing what was, because the Thing is one of my absolute favorite movies.
I think for both of us, for sure. I mean, it's just like, yeah.
And I really come to appreciate what they did with the prequel. And there's an excellent movie in there somewhere.
Yeah.
And it's definitely there. It's just, it was just horrendous studio tinkering, but I still appreciate it for what it was. And that ending
was perfect.
When they start playing the fucking original score and the dog's running,
dog, yeah.
And then I look at it as like the first and second act of a 3-act masterpiece. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's really good stuff. And a lot of people, they think I'm crazy, but and plus Mary Elizabeth Winstead, hello. Not too hard on the eyes.
Hey-o.
So I mean, she's a hall pass, right?
I gotta ask. I don't know. Probably.
I mean, everyone has one hall pass, so
All right, so that's good on the underrated. I like those, and just like some modern day things that you saw, because I know we both saw X, and I fucking loved X.
Good.
Yep.
I would say the Mortuary Collection.
Me too. I have that. So I wrote that down, but go ahead.
Mortuary Collection. As someone who's done a lot of anthologies, and as a result have seen a lot of other anthologies, people forget why anthologies work. And if you look at Creepshow is the perfect anthology. Creepshow is anthologies firing on all cylinders. And the only anthology, including the ones I've been part of, that really worked for me and gave me that Creepshow kind of feeling was the Mortuary Collection. Plus you have Clancy Brown. Oh shit, right? So I mean, just a perfect fucking, I just loved it. I loved everything about it. Another movie that totally blew me away was a movie called The Medium. It was on Shudder for a long time.
What's it called?
The Medium.
Okay. Oh yeah.
Film. It's a take on possession that is just batshit nuts and scary. Really, really good stuff. Off Season, Mickey Keating's new movie. Great movie.
I love that guy. So that guy, I didn't know much of him. And then one day I stumbled across The Core on Shudder, and I was like, this is the greatest late show talk show format. Like, it was like 6 episodes, and I think Danzig was the last one. I was like, how has not one person mentioned this show? And how fucking, like, it's just like Conan O'Brien, but like with horror. Like,
And I think finally the last one I saw that really did it for me was, I just watched it I think it was last week. It was a movie called The Boy Behind the Door.
Saw it. Yeah, that was good. Yep.
Really good stuff. I mean, those 2 kids, man, they acted their asses off. And it had some really interesting twists I didn't see coming, and so did that movie, The Cellar. I think it was called The Cellar.
Yes.
Had this weird demonic mathematical thing going on, man. I was like, what the fuck is this? Yeah, it was good stuff.
Cool. I just wanted to, Mortuary Collection. Another one that I wanted to mention was Nightmare Cinema, which I thought was amazing. That was a great, like, Mick Garris is a fucking genius. And one that you were in, Chillerama. I love Chillerama.
Blink and you miss it.
I love Chillerama.
I had on this elaborate makeup because I was supposed to be in the scene where the guy comes up to the window and slides his face down it. That was supposed to be me. But it was filming went late as it does, and I was standing there and I wasn't gonna be able to come back to the set. And so Joe Lynch comes up to me and goes, Steve, I got this idea. How about we fuck you up the ass with a ripped off cock and you spit up demon semen? Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, that, blink and you miss it, but it's there. And I knew it was there, and that makes me laugh every time I see it. I love Chillerama. I'm not a fan of Werebears, I think that Chillerama would be way better without it.
Without it,
No
yeah.
offense to Tim, it wasn't as fun, and plus the musical aspect. I'm not big on musicals, you know.
Yeah.
And you know, I love Chillerama. Chillerama is fucking Wadzilla is the fucking craziest.
Was
shit.
that Rifkin?
Yes,
Because
Yeah.
he's our next guest.
Oh, Adam, tell him I
Yeah.
said hi.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
in Adam's other thing. Look,
Oh, okay. So Rob suggested I watch Look before we talk to him.
amazing.
Yeah, I gotta watch it.
Look up the TV series too
Okay.
on Showtime. I played a battered husband.
Okay. I guess that's it. And one more thing, shitting in John Carpenter's bathroom. Anything you want to say about that?
It was wonderful, man. I was sitting there. I was just looking around at the posters on the walls. I was like, wow, I don't have much to fucking do other than this. Yeah, I mean, that's my bucket list is over at that point, right?
You've said it all. You've
Does he have
lived
a
the life.
bidet?
No,
Really?
disappointing. I love bidets,
Okay.
man. Listen, anyone who fucking laughs at bidets has never had the pleasure of having their asshole hosed down, man.
I have one. We have one here.
Fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
Just
Shoot, nothing but good things.
put it up to the fucking maximum velocity. That's great.
Sometimes you don't even shit. You just want to
Yeah,
excite.
refreshing.
Listen, French toast, French fries, and bidets. I mean, the French. Yeah, that's
God bless them.
that's it. So, Steve, thank you so much for hanging
Thank
out
you,
with
man.
us.
My pleasure, guys.
You know, I was really super looking forward to this after I met you at the Coney Island Brewery. You know, John Scandato, shout out to Break the Apocalypse, was like, you got to talk to Steve. So, and I loved the episode you did with him, but thank you so much for hanging out with us.
Thank you,
Yeah,
guys.
man.
All right.
See you soon. Take care.
Bye.
Later.